same time I was. Even though I was born Central Time, he was Mountain Time. You know, we said we were identical or tied for it or whatever. So actually, I was born first. But
yeah, let's get
well, no, I came home from Vietnam in July of '68, and I saw my share of combat. I was there for the Tet Offensive of '68.
Well, let's just go back and talk a little bit about that, because I know you know, we saw the map, we saw where you were, and that's where some of the heaviest fighting took place. And I know that you have 3 Purple Hearts, and so would you tell us the story of how you got that first one?
First one I got in December of '67 was a platoon leader. They we went in to secure a landing zone for a battalion-sized operation. Unfortunately, when we got in, they wouldn't let the rest of the battalion in, so we were kind of stuck. And the platoon is authorized about 42 men, but I never had more than 30, if I ever had that many. Usually you're always short. And we had a very good, he was later killed, battalion commander that got us some, what they call concertina wire, which is barbed wire that's in circles, and got some, they just, you know, flew over and dumped it. It got us some ammo and a few things that we could, you know, spend the night. And
well, before you go any further, okay, you had like 30 men.
Yeah.
What were you facing? What were they all?
Well, we found out later, because we got overrun, was that there were 2 battalions, and
And
battalions
that's how many?
about 600-700 each.
Okay, so
these were
30
north
as opposed to that.
to 1,400. Yeah, it was not good odds, but
No.
But
so, and you had concertina wire.
we
okay.
got some of the stuff. We got it not secured like it was a base camp, but we got it laid in a circle, so that, because that's what you were in, was a circle, and we did get to dig in a little bit. And you could tell. You know, it's a funny thing about war or combat over there. You knew when you were in for it. You could. It was just something in the air. Everybody knew it. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Platoon, but I remember I had a squad leader that was due to rotate home. And I remember there's a scene in Platoon where the guy wanted to, you know, he knew something was up. He wanted to get out of there. My guy did too. But I was so short of people, there's no way of getting him out anyway.
That's right, you're surrounded.
But anyway, later that night, I had listening posts out. And later that night, about midnight, they started to mortar us. Good thing is there was one on this side and one on this side, and they mortared each other instead of us. So they got a few rounds in on us. So, and then they did their assault, which was the one and only experience I ever had with a human wave attack, where they just lined up.
Yeah,
and,
you had to describe that so then we all know.
Well, it's all you can see is a bunch of them coming at you with weapons. Funny thing, most of the first wave or line didn't have ammo in it, and they were on something, because you could, you know, put 4 or 5 rounds into it, they would not drop. You ended up, but the funny thing, or funny, I don't know if it's funny, it was weird thing, is if they would have stopped, they would have wiped us out. But they just ran through. We were fighting hand to hand, but they just ran right through us. We didn't stop. I mean, we were obviously outnumbered.
It does sound like they were hyped up.
Yeah, so, but anyway, we survived. I had 3 killed, and there was maybe 6 of us wounded. I was wounded. That was the first time I was hit.
You mentioned something about the you had 2 machine guns set up, and one was destroyed.
Yeah, one was, well, the gunner was killed immediately. He was always remember the name. His name was Kenneth Benjamin. He was from Boston, Massachusetts. The other one, I don't remember the gunner's name. He got hit, but the listening post was a guy from Kentucky named Gaither, and I'll never forget it. Because when he was talking to me on the radio when we were getting probed by the North Vietnamese, I finally said, "Blow your claymores," which he had claymores out, and get back in here. He had what they called a Prick 25 radio, which is probably about 20 pounds, plus his rucksack weapon, etc. And I said, "Get in here." And he blew the claymores, and he screamed he was coming in. And triple concertina is about 3.5 feet diameter per roll, but it's 2 rolls and you pile on top. He looped it, cleared it. I don't know how he did it. It must have been the adrenaline, but he cleared
It
it.
must have been
I couldn't believe it because I could see it in the flares right over there. But he took over one of the machine guns, and then they started hitting us with RPGs, and then, then the rest of it. When my radio telephone operator, a guy from London, Ohio, by the name of John Teal, he actually gave his life up for me that night. I had gone forward to this machine gun position because they were running low on ammo, so I took some up from the platoon CP. My platoon sergeant had froze, and I took the stuff up, and the medic, his name was Claude Hunt from, I believe it was Macon, Georgia. He went with me, and there was the machine gunner had been hurt when the RPG hit the berm that he was behind. And Gaither was running the machine gun, and I got him some ammo, and I was just, it's like being a private, loading the machine gun for him. I mean, there's no such thing as rank. I say this, but I think I told you this when we first met, is the most intimate you'll ever be with another human being is in combat. There's no relationship you will ever have, because you're naked to the soul. You are facing mortality together. Everybody knows it. They look to you for guidance, and you better have it. But it's the ultimate, it's the quintessential. But getting back to John, we started getting hit, and then I ran back to the platoon CP, and I got halfway, and Sir Charles opened up on me with a AK-47, and fortunately he knocked the heel of my right boot off, nicked a portion of the male anatomy that I would rather not go into. I said nicked, and then put a bullet through my shoulder. The male ego, more than anything, I can tell you which part of my body I grabbed. But I was knocked over, and then about that time a flare came up, so I mean, talk about naked. I mean, you're just exposed.
Totally.
And I got up and started heading towards it, but I'd lost the heel of my boot. And I was hit here, and I saw John look me in the eye, and next thing I knew, he threw a body block into me, and then there was this explosion. And what had happened is that he had seen somebody sighting in on me with an RPG, and he took the hit for me and was killed. Something that's I've never forgotten.
No, I was going to say that's something that you're
never forget.
Going to forget,
No.
And it's an experience that you keep reliving in your mind. I know that you've tried to work through it by attempting to write a book. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, you write a book, and it's how do you write it? How do you explain it? That's one of the difficulties. Vietnam veterans have a rough time maintaining relationships because we're usually very quiet or private. People think they know us, but they haven't got a clue.
Unless you've walked in your steps.
Yeah, well, but it's not that, and it's unfortunate because the family that is left behind in war suffers just as much as the individual in war, but you don't know that at the time. You don't appreciate it, I guess, if there is such a word for that.
Well, when you're young, you don't appreciate a lot of stuff.
And you also think you're invincible.
Oh yeah.
So in the male ego, you add that, and boy, that's a
combination.
Deadly combination.
But going back to John.
Well, back in the early 90s, I used to truthfully get drunk every December 7th, the night of, it was actually December 8th, which ironically is, I was raised a Catholic, is a feast of the Immaculate Conception, and it's also my mom and dad's wedding anniversary. So, and of course my mom told me the only reason I came home alive was because she went to Novena every Tuesday night at St. Mary's Church. So I'm sure that's true. Nothing that I had to do with it. But no, John, someone giving their life, but see, John carried my radio for me. We ate, slept, did everything together. He's right there. I mean, the minute anything happened. And it's kind of an interesting story how he ended up doing that. Back in October, we were out on a battalion-sized operation, and the forward observer was adjusting the artillery, what they call def